الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد. عن عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه أنه خرج يوما إلى مسجد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فوجد معاذ بن جبل رضي الله عنه قاعدا عند قبر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يبكي، فقال: ما يبكيك؟ قال: يبكيني شيء سمعته من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول: إن يسير الرياء شرك، وإن من عادى لله وليا فقد بارز الله بالمحاربة. إن الله يحب الأبرار الأتقياء الأخفياء الذين إذا غابوا لم يفتقدوا، وإذا حضروا لم يدعوا ولم يعرفوا، قلوبهم مصابيح الهدى يخرجون من كل غبراء مظلمة، أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. رواه Ibn Majah. In continuation of the hadith from the book of Muntakhab Ahadith, the chapter of Ikhlas Niyyah, sincerity of intention, in the subchapter of Riya, or showing off, and particularly condemnation of showing off. This is hadith number 36. This hadith is from Ibn Majah, one of the 6 most authentic books of hadith, the Sahih Sitta. Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, he narrates that one day he went to the Masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he found Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu standing by the grave of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he was weeping. Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu asked him, what is making you weep? Why are you weeping? Sayyidina Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu said, there's something that I heard from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam that is making me weep. I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam saying, even a little bit of riya, inna yasir al-riya shirk, even a little bit of showing off is shirk. Wa inna man aada lillahi waliyan faqad baraza Allah bil muharaba. And whosoever holds enmity against a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so such a person has gone to war, or has gone to wage war with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna Allah yuhibbul abrar al-atqiya al-akhfiya. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He loves al-abrar, those that are righteous, al-atqiya, those that fear Him and that refrain from sin, al-akhfiya, those that are hidden, that are very reserved, and they're not famous, they keep a low profile. They're those الَّذِينَ إِذَا غَابُوا لَمْ يُفْتَقَدُوا, those when they're absent in some meeting, some gathering, some place, no one is looking for them. إِذَا حَضَرُوا لَمْ يُدْعَوْا وَلَمْ يُعْرَفُوا. And if they're ever present in a meeting, a gathering, or some place, they're not particularly recognized, or they're not known, they're not so famous. قُلُوبُهُمْ مَصَابِيحُ الْهُدَى. Their hearts are lamps and lanterns of guidance. يَخْرُجُونَ مِنْ كُلِّ غَبْرَاءَ مُظْلِمَةٍ. Because of the light of that heart, because of the light that those lamps give off, and the light of that guidance, they're taken out of the storms of darknesses, the storms of sins and evil. This hadith is in Ibn Majah. We discussed a good portion of this hadith. We were discussing regarding the point within the hadith related to that person. وَإِنَّ مَنْ عَادَى لِلَّهِ وَلِيًّا فَقَدْ بَارَزَ اللَّهَ بِالْمُحَارَبَةِ. Whosoever wages war against a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whosoever holds enmity, whosoever has enmity and hatred against a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so such a person has gone to wage war with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this hadith, the next sentence speaks about the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there are three major qualities that are mentioned. But these qualities, in essence, if you go to the ayat of the Quran, there is the quality of iman and taqwa. ألا إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون الذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون. Indeed, the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those that will have no fear, or there will be no fear on them, and they will not grieve. Why? Because they are those that have iman, that believe. وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ, and they used to have taqwa, they lived their life abstaining from the disobedience and sins, the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sins, and they live their life in the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Here in this hadith of Ibn Majah, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he gives us the qualities of the awliya, and very, very particular. Inna Allah yuhibbul abrar al-atqiya al-akhfiya. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he loves those that are al-abrar, those that are righteous. They perform righteous deeds. And this is what is the essence of iman, belief, is that a person performs righteous deeds. Al-atqiya, they're those that have taqwa, that fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-akhfiya, they're those that are hidden. They're not famous. They keep a low profile. They are very reserved. They're not trying to seek fame. They're not trying to please the people. They're not trying to get the attention of authorities or famous people. So these are the major qualities. Coming to iman itself, what is considered righteousness? And this can be a matter of perspective. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, in many, many places, has explained in great detail the sifatul mu'mineen, the qualities of the believers. And these qualities stem from that iman that is in their heart. For iman to remain in a heart, a person must purify their heart. First and foremost, tazkiyatul qalb or tazkiyatul qulub. It is very, very important. Purifying one's heart is very, very important. And we have given the example of a glass of water. The water itself is very, very pure. But also the glass that we drink water from, we want that glass to be clean and pure as well. And the clean water, it'll have its refreshing taste once it is put in a clean glass. So iman is like the water, and the glass will be our heart, which holds that iman, which will have that quality of iman. If someone's heart is filthy, they're full of sins and evil thoughts and doubts, so their heart is like the example of a filthy, dirty cup. Yes, you can put water into it, but that water will not remain pure. So that is the example of those who have filthy hearts, who have enmity, who have hatred, jealousy. The quality of a believer is that he doesn't hate anyone. He hates sins. He hates the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But he does not have enmity against any particular person. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, we know from his seerah, from his life biography, that when he began the mission of nubuwah, when he began the mission of prophethood, and he invited people to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the very beginning there was very great opposition. And there were particular names that became famous for their opposition, and how much enmity, how much hatred, and how much opposition they had to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But with all of that, how much effort Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam made even on them. The very famous names of Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab and others come. and even Abu Sufyan in the beginning, and many others. But we know that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he still made an effort in inviting them to the truth as well. And that in itself is an indication to us that we may hate the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We may hate a sin, but we should never hate the person involved in the sin. Rather, we should have concern and genuine concern and fikr related for that person, how they may also be guided. So that is a quality of a mu'min, of a believer, that in their heart they don't hold enmity against anyone. A very simple example also is that many of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, before accepting Islam, they had done many things that were in opposition of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and against the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'een. And we know that many of them for life did certain things that they even regretted before accepting Islam. But because of the concern, the fikr, and the beautiful akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his beautiful character, they were drawn to Islam. And when they were given da'wah and invited to the beautiful deen of Islam, they accepted Islam. The very famous names, Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, Sayyidina Khalid ibn Walid radiyallahu anhu, and many more Sahaba. When you read their life before accepting Islam, what they went through. But it was made very clear that the enmity and hatred was not for them, but for the acts that they were involved in. And because of that genuine concern and love for them, that how they may change their lives, they also in the end changed their lives and accepted Islam. So our hearts have to be pure. We should not have hatred against someone. We should also not have jealousy for anyone. A jealous person, it's a very strange quality. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save and protect us from jealousy. A very terrible quality it is. That a jealous person is famous that they burn twice. A jealous person, they burn twice. They burn in this world because of the jealousy they have in their heart against someone, that they wish harm for the person they're jealous of. So inside they're burning. So in this dunya they burn. And because of this evil quality of jealousy, so in the akhirah also they will burn in the fire of Jahannam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save all of us and purify our hearts from any type of jealousy. Hasad is a very terrible disease. And the hasad of the hasideen, when they act on that hasad, when they act on that jealousy, they can destroy people. It can destroy many lives. The jealousy, when a person is jealous, so they will plot against the person they're jealous of. And in those plots, they can harm people. If not, because of that jealousy, so much enmity, it develops into a type of evil eye, and they're able to evil eye and harm someone. So many other evil qualities can stem from that jealousy. That is why even in the Quran, amongst the many dangerous things that we seek the refuge and protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from, in the Quran, is also from the hasad of the hasideen, from the jealousy of those who are jealous. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us in the Quran, قُلْ, say, أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقْ, that I seek refuge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I seek refuge with the Rabbul Falaq, with the Rabb of the being that controls the horizons, and this is also in relation to that which comes up and goes, and the stars. Basically, we're seeking the refuge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the refuge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from what? Min sharri ma khalaq, from the evil of whatever He has created. And amongst the most dangerous things within the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, min sharri ghasiqin idha waqab, wa min sharri naffathati fil uqad, is seeking the refuge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the magicians, from the wizards, particularly those that tie the knots, the women that do the sihr, the witches that do the sihr with tying knots and blowing on knots. Sharri naffathati fil uqad. Wa min sharri hasidin idha hasad, from the evil of the jealous ones when they act on their jealousy. A jealous person will plot against the person they're jealous of. Then when that doesn't work, part of that plot, they will go to people that can harm them. They will try and approach the authorities to find something to accuse the person of, to destroy their life. If not, then they will go and approach even magicians, and it happens in many countries. They will approach the magicians to do some type of sihr and magic against the person they're jealous of. And if that doesn't work, then they try in a form of hypocrisy to try and harm the person by, on surface, showing that they're a well-wisher, but inside trying to destroy them with evil eye and many, many other evil qualities. So, وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ. We seek the refuge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the evil of that person who is jealous when they act on their jealousy. So that is why jealousy, very, very dangerous quality. Again, takabbur, arrogance, is a dangerous quality to have. Wherein the takabbur is where a person becomes so arrogant that in reality they're not that great that they think they are. There's two aspects. One is kibr and arrogance, when a person has takabbur, and one is ghurur. And they're very much the same, but one is that type of arrogance where there is no reason for the person to be arrogant. There's no reason. The person is not really that great that they think they are, but inside they feel and also they show themselves as if they're someone they're not. It's a type of deception. A person is deceived into thinking and they're so great. In reality, they're not that great. Type of ghurur. And there's another type of arrogance, which a person is arrogant, but at least he has a reason to be arrogant. He's really something, and then they become arrogant. Again, arrogance is a terrible quality, either way you put it. Such is the case of Iblis. When you go into the ayat of the Quran, we see Iblis, also shaitan, the quality that was given to him, the title he was given as shaitan. That when he became arrogant and he did not do sajda to Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the ayat of the Quran very, very clearly that, and this is in many, many places you go throughout the Quran, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He ordered the angels to do sajda. فَسَجَدَ الْمَلَائِكَةُ كُلُّهُمْ أَجْمَعُونَ إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ أَبَى أَنْ يَكُونَ مِنَ السَّاجِدِينَ. That all of the angels, they did sajda, but Iblis, he refused to do sajda. قال يا إبليس ما منعك أن تسجد لما خلقت بيدي أستكبرت أم كنت من العالين. And then again, you can go in many, many places. I'm just taking snippets, one or two places in the Quran. It's mentioned in Surah, it's mentioned in many, many places. Surah Al-Hijr and Surah Sad, and in many, many places in the Quran. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He asked Iblis, Ya Iblis, Ma mana'aka an tasjuda lima khalaqtu biyadayda. Oh Iblis, what is making you refuse to do sajda to that which I created with my hands? Such a valuable and precious creation. Astakbarta am kunta min al-'alin. Are you becoming arrogant? That you have no reason to be arrogant? Am anta min al-'alin. Am kunta min al-'alin. Or are you really that great? Again, showing both aspects. That are you arrogant when you don't have a right to be arrogant? Astakbart. Am kunta min al-'alin. Or are you really that great that you have a right to be arrogant, or you have a right to show that you're better? So what did Iblis say? Or Shaitan, what was his response? قَالَ أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِّنْهُ خَلَقْتَنِي مِنْ نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِنْ طِينٍ. Shaitan said, yeah, I'm arrogant, but أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِّنْهُ, I am better than him. The statements in the words of Shaitan, that I am better than him. خَلَقْتَنِي مِنْ نَارٍ, you made me from fire. وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِنْ طِينٍ, you made him from clay. And really in the mind of Iblis, when you go into it and you analyze what Iblis was trying to prove, what Iblis was trying to say, it makes sense. It really does. Fire gives light. Clay is generally dark. Fire, steam, it has this quality to go up. Whatever it cooks, your steam goes up, fire can go up. And clay, what is clay? It goes down. So Shaitan, he was analyzing by the very material aspect that fire, the fire that I'm made from, is better than this clay. Fire can even cook clay. Clay has very little effect on fire in that sense. Again, power, when you analyze real power. So the power is in fire, how powerful fire is. Even the jinn, Shaitan, he was a jinn, kana min al-jinn. In Surah Al-Kahf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us why Shaitan refused to do sajda. Kana min al-jinni fafasaqa an amri rabbi. He was from jinn. So he disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the nature of jinn, they're created from fire, or from the core of fire, the magma, which is again energy and power. وَخَلَقَ الْجَانَّ مِن مَارِجٍ مِّن نَارٍ. And the jinn, they're created from marijim min nar, very intense, which is basically the core energy of fire. And it's a very, very intense type of energy. And how powerful energy is, how powerful fire is, how many things fire can burn. And with the intensity of fire, how powerful fire can become. Also, when it becomes energy, a lot of these electricity and these things, what are these electrical currents? What are they? They're actual energy going back to fire. And how powerful they can be. What is clay? How powerful can clay be? So Shaitan was analyzing based on the actual power of material and what he had seen. So he was analyzing that in reality, I have a right to say I'm better because I'm made of a material far more powerful than the material that this creation is made from. The material that Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam is made from, or the material that human beings are made from. There's a genuine logical analysis. But what Shaitan was missing was the useful power. When you go into use, which one is more useful? Yes, fire is useful. You can cook many things. But how useful is clay? You put any seed there, what comes out? How many fruits are there in the world? Where are you coming from? From the clay. Coming from this earth. And how many other beautiful qualities this clay has? It can be molded. You can change a person into some of the best of creation. You can change a person to being the best of the worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also clay has the power to take in anything. It can carry loads, it can carry burdens. How much happens on the clay and where it goes, how much rain falls, where it goes, or it sucks it up, soaks it in, holds it. How many things are in the ground? How many things are living in the ground? How many bodies it can also hold, even the dead, it can hold it in. This very quality of, we say bardash, this very quality of being able to withstand and having this power to hold, being patient, being steadfast, being firm. These are qualities of clay. Fire doesn't have that quality. Fire can't hold things for too long. It holds something for too long, it'll burn it. It's very impulsive. Fire, very impulsive. But clay, see how many beautiful qualities it has. So many other beautiful qualities Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put into this insan, inside this human being, the best of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that aspect of arrogance is what destroyed Shaitan, because Shaitan was looking at the surface level and he felt that he was better based on his analysis. There's a very deep lesson for us also, and a lesson for every person who feels that for every arrogant person, even if they feel that their arrogance is justified, that arrogance is flawed. It's based on very flawed logic. And the reason it is based on flawed logic is because the qualities that are used, the particular senses and abilities that are used to come to that conclusion are very limited. our senses of perception, our senses of sight and hearing, our senses of intellect and intelligence and comprehension. We miss many things. We don't have that kind of ilm. We don't have that kind of knowledge to have a genuine analysis. Because of that, when a person becomes arrogant, so there can only be two types of arrogance. Either a person is foolish and they're arrogant for no reason, or their arrogance is justified. And if the arrogance is justified, even then it is flawed. So that is why arrogance is a very, very terrible quality, and it can really destroy a person. That is why this is one of those qualities that even if a person has a little bit of it, this pride, arrogance, even a little bit of it, it'll make a person that the person will not be eligible to enter into Jannah. And there are many, many particular hadith related to this very, very terrible quality of arrogance. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purify our hearts and protect us from arrogance, a very, very terrible quality. So the heart must be purified from arrogance. It must be purified from jealousy. It also must be purified from hatred and vengeance. This is a type of quality that can really destroy a person. Even if it is justified, even if the vengeance is justified, a person must purify their hearts. You should not hold in your heart vengeance against someone or hatred against someone. Yes, we're human beings. Many people hurt us in our lives. People have taken our rights. But by us, in our mind and in our hearts, thinking of vengeance and hatred for those people, in reality, all we're doing is we're harming ourselves even more. We're burning ourselves even more. We're causing ourselves even more harm than what has already been done. So it's important to let go of that vengeance and that hatred. That's why in many places in the Quran, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is addressed that you should have patience, you should forego, forgive, overlook. وَاصْبِرْ وَمَا صَبْرُكَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. Be patient, persevere, forgive. Your patience is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَقَدْ نَعْلَمُ أَنَّكَ يَضِيقُ صَدْرُكَ بِمَا يَقُولُونَ فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَكُن مِّنَ السَّاجِدِينَ وَاعْبُدْ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينُ. We know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, addressing Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَلَقَدْ نَعْلَمُ أَنَّكَ يَضِيقُ صَدْرُكَ بِمَا يَقُولُونَ. We know how constrained and restricted your chest becomes because of what they're saying. Kind of horrible things they used to say to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the kind of horrible things they used to say behind his back. Terrible and horrible things that kuffar and disbelievers used to say at that time. Come to the 21st century, in our time, the year 2020, how many countries even make some depiction or some cartoon or some joke about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and how we believers, how we feel about that. And that is not even anywhere near the kind of insult and disrespect that the kuffar at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam they had against him. So how he used to feel, how restricted, constrained, and how much it used to pain him, the kind of things they used to call him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed them very clearly. وَلَقَدْ نَعْلَمْ. Definitely we know. أَنَّكَ يَضِيقُ صَدْرُكَ بِمَا يَقُولُونَ. That you become very restricted and restrained in your chest because of what they're saying. But don't pay attention to it. فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَكُن مِّنَ السَّاجِدِينَ. Glorify the praises of your Rabb and be of those who do sajda. وَعَبُدْ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينُ. And worship your Rabb until death comes to you. So a very, very clear answer. That just focus on your ibadah. You'll see that the result of salah is that it can really remove the pain and emotional pain that a person may be feeling. If salah is prayed properly, it can remove that pain from a person. particularly sajda. That is why it is particularly singled out. In salah, in sajda, really, when you humble yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you connect yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the kind of relief that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He will give you. And it's not just spiritual or emotional relief, even physical relief Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give. Particularly in sajda. Obviously the whole of salah is very, very amazing. And that is why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam on many occasions he was quoted as saying, قُرَّةُ عَيْنِي فِي الصَّلَاةِ جُعِلَتْ قُرَّةُ عَيْنِي فِي الصَّلَاةِ, that the coolness of my eyes has been made in salah. Meaning that when I'm in salah, when I'm worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I get the coolness of my eyes, I get the comfort that I'm seeking. Imagine what a connection a person must have in their salah. And that is one of the major qualities of the mu'mineen. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises the believers in the Quran with particular qualities, in Surah Al-Mu'minun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Definitely successful are the mu'minun, the believers. الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. They are those who in their salah they have khushu'. They have devotion, they have concentration, they have great focus in their salah. Khushu'. There are some terms in our day-to-day lives that one is just a surface translation, but some terms you only know their true meaning when a person is involved or is given an example. One of those words is khushu'. There are many people who have certain passions, certain hobbies that they are passionate. We all have certain hobbies that many a times we become passionate about. Some people, their hobby is sports. We encourage them to play those type of sports that are good for your body, your physical. So, some their hobby is sports. Some their hobby is in writing. Some their hobby is in computers and technology. Some their hobby is in information, and others find their hobby in whatever it might be. Some, unfortunately, find it in entertainment or in whatever it might be. But whenever we get into those particular things that we are very passionate about, and in the 21st century, you can find it in the youth. Sometimes when they get into the social media or they get into their games, when they're playing their games or they're on social media, or some are entertainment, they're watching on the internet, whatever they're watching. And hopefully it is nothing haram, but those that are involved in that, sometimes they're so engrossed in it, and all of us have this. Our hobby, sometimes we become so engrossed in it that we lose track of everything around us. And sometimes for hours, we're not aware of what is going on around us. And the time passes so quickly. Few hours will just pass and a person will feel like only minutes have gone. That is called khushu'. If you really want to know what is khushu', that the person is so engrossed that he doesn't even realize how much time has passed. That is why when we read about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam or the lives of Sahaba radiyallahu anhum, sometimes they would pray salah and the whole night would pass, and then they would realize that how much time they had spent in salah. Because that is what is real khushu'. And that is what is the quality of the mu'mineen, that when they pray salah, there's so much khushu' in their salah that nothing else matters. They're so cut off from the world. And they're so engrossed in talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because they really love it. They have this real passion in talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So nothing else really matters. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also bless us with that type of khushu'. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us understanding and give us a tawfiq to practice His deen. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغِ.